Why is it that most people struggle to make sense of Jiu-Jitsu? Even though they show up to class, pay attention, and train hard, they've got little to show for it. It's because the way the sport is taught follows a throw a shit at the wall and see what sticks method that leaves you confused on where to go next if your first step fails. And it'll remain confusing until you understand this 4-part system that I'm going to take you through step by step in this video. This system's so powerful at simplifying the sport that it produces results like this, and this. And it works no matter your age, your sporting background, your belt level, your flexibility, or your limb length. Just so we can get all those shitty excuses out of the way and you can actually pay attention while you're dropping logs off at the pool. We all know you're taking a shit right now. All right, so for this to work, you have to understand first why systemizing your training is so effective at simplifying the sport. When I first started coaching in the first iteration of my program, I thought the best possible service would be a place where you could ask me for technique demonstrations and I'd go off and film a video after training on iPhone quality with shit lighting, and it would be great for you to be able to destroy your training partners. Within a couple of months, we had a massive video library where there were hundreds of videos from K-guard entries into backside. There were opposite triangles and buggy choke. No, scratch that. I never filmed a buggy choke, nor will I. But even armed with some great content of new moves that students could use, there was a problem. My students still kept reporting that they were running into the same issues again and again. I didn't know where to go next after doing X. I get a blank brain feeling after I sweep somebody and I have no idea what to do. As soon as I escape, a higher belt repins me and then I have to escape all over again. And all this told me was that more moves usually end in more complexity, not a gain in understanding, and very mixed results. Something needed to change, and there needed to be a well-defined structure that would take the guesswork out of jiu-jitsu and put it into a system that all of your current moves could be placed into so you could simplify your decision-making and know exactly what to do next. And as soon as I laid this out, my student sessions went from just surviving to tapping the higher belts in a matter of weeks. I grouped a few moves from each position into big chunks and called them phases 1 through 4. I then categorized them to solve in order the most common problems that the guys were coming up against and showed reliable pathways forwards, including how to link those moves together so they had a direction to follow no matter where they ended up in a round. And if you're watching this video right now, I'm going to let you steal it. So to start, San Pellegrino is so good. We're going to solve one of the biggest frustrations you'll be experiencing in the sport by implementing phase 1. Everybody who's done a jiu-jitsu lesson knows the pain of being underneath that overweight purple belt who obviously hasn't showered after working a 12-hour construction shift, stinks, and is just pinning you, and you have no chance of escape until you put your arm in this position and there's an Americana on offer because they refuse to do anything else. And your coach isn't helping because he just finished showing you an armbar from close guard you've already forgotten how to do, and even if you could remember, your legs won't fit around this fat prick anyway. So you're up shit creek without a paddle. This is where phase 1 comes in. And it works like this. You're going to spend a week at a time from each of the common bottom pins or positions. This looks like side control, mount, north-south, half guard. If you want to get extra with it, you could do escaping the back, but we'll leave that for the advanced guys. The first half of the week will be one escape, and the second half of the week is going to cover the initial defense of that first escape, which opens a door for a second escape. For example, week 1 is going to begin with learning a knee-elbow escape from side control, where they aren't covering your hips completely so you can get your knee inside. When they figure out what you're up to and they try and crush you for bringing new tools to the gym, you'll be ready. In the second half of the week, you'll utilize what's called a Marcelo Garcia escape because your hips will be completely pinned and your knee won't be able to get inside, but your upper body is free to start to prop up, create space, and invert away and free yourself. So now you see that you have 2 options from the one position that play off the likely reaction of your partner, which significantly increases your chances of success and deepens your understanding by simplifying your choices into how and why moves work, not just what they are. But don't get too excited. You're going to run into a brick wall of pain if you forget to utilize phase 2 right after escaping. So you did it. You took my advice. You finally escaped. except you missed one crucial detail and the overweight pelvic wheel chuckles, gets back into side control, and now you've wasted energy, become disheartened, and think that you're destined to go right back into survival mode. Well, you are, until you adopt phase 2. The reason this phase is so important is because you can escape all day long, but until you start mixing in some immediate offense right after your escapes, you won't be getting very far. Instead of just admiring your handiwork and escaping side control back to neutral or open guard only to get stuck again, you need to now link your escapes to offensive options that will prevent your partner from repinning you, as they'll need to defend your attack or risk being submitted. Each phase should now be used 1 week at a time from each position, starting with your escape. Let's use mount as an example for phase 2. In phase 1, you discovered that knee elbow escapes play off kipping escapes and vice versa. You then figured out you end up in half guard from a knee elbow and either butterfly if you get 2 knees in, or a rimiashi if you get 1 knee in from a kipping escape. So now you recognize where you reliably end up. It's time to automatically assume a knee elbow escape now means headed to lower leg shift or John Wayne sweeps, which are immediate offense. And a kipping escape now means sweeping or reaping if you get 1 knee in, or a sumigashi if you get 2 knees in. Thinking like this dramatically increases the success of your techniques as you've built a path ready to go. You've got a built-in path ready to go where you're sure of where you're headed, you act confidently, you don't hesitate, and you end up in dominant positions more often. What's the next link in the chain after sweeping your partner right after an escape? Well, before we get into phase 3, which turns random chaotic scrambles into points and pins, we cannot gloss over why this phase works so well. You've definitely knee cut against a training partner thinking the faster, wider, and flashier, the better, only to get wrestled up on as soon as you do because you forgot about the pinning afterwards. You've also definitely taken someone down, stopped to admire your handiwork in front of thousands of people at ADCC, and lost a match that would have given you a guaranteed medal in the finals. Maybe that one was just me, but you get the point. If you just think in 1 move increments, you're likely to miss opportunities, fail to consolidate positions, and lose more often. So merging sweeps into pins like we do in phase 3 stops that problem from happening. Say you've used a rimiashi from a kipping escape and you put your training partner to their butt. Instead of letting go of their feet, resetting to neutral, likely pulling guard again, like the filthy guard pull you are. You keep their heels above their hips, you drop 1 knee into half guard, and then crash their far shoulder, as if there was nothing separating the pin from when the sweep started. Choosing moves like this and linking them together completely stops a scramble, any chance of them wrestling up or turning over to turtle and ruining all of your good work. Now you can have confidence in your sweeps, leading you towards more pins, becoming more dangerous as a result. Imagine the look on your training partner's face when he has you fully mounted underneath him, about to be submitted. And with a few quick moves, he's now on his back, no idea what's just going on. This is what's possible when you phase things together like this, which leads me into everybody's favorite, the crescendo, phase 4. The reason this is so important to master is everybody does it backwards. You learn submissions first because they're the most exciting whilst negating everything that makes them possible in the first place. And this means you'll have very little success throwing out random subs, leaving you with no clue what to do next when they fail and likely exhausted in the process. And it's not your fault, because subs and bragging rights over your training partners are very attractive benefits, where escapes and sweeps don't really have the same effect. Until you can do them reliably from each position, with a few options, and then you can frustrate your training partners because you're a well-rounded freak now, which is what I'm teaching you now. So once we've laid the groundwork, you've eaten your vegetables, you can now have dessert. Quick aside, top 3 desserts in order: baked cheesecake, sticky date pudding, lemon tart, no idea. So we've escaped, swept, and pinned, got your points, and settled the position. Now it's time to isolate limbs and attack. Let's use the half guard example from before and assume you either knee cut into side control or went into high tripod into mount. Both are going to require an underhook, but you already started linking moves together and you know that. Good job, you. Now you can head into either dorsal kimura from side control once you've isolated that arm with the underhook, video below if you don't know what that is, or arguably the best mount attack, the Katagatame. Also linked below if you don't know what that is. Both of these have extremely high percentage chances of finishing. And even if it fails, you now have a reliable roadmap to get back there to go again, even if you get swept. So instead of doing jiu-jitsu the hard way by just winging it, you now have 4 simple phases with deliberate links between them. And you've turned jiu-jitsu from a random and chaotic, too hard to learn mess into an organized system that allows you to dominate every time you hit the mats. So now you can finally organize your moves in that simple system. You need to make sure you're using it to turn yourself into a nightmare on the mats and dominate your training sessions. And if you want to do that, click here and watch this, and I'll see you in the next one.